So, uh,
Yeah,
well, let's take it away. Welcome everybody to the Speedrun Ethereum challenge for the Sepolia Odyssey by P2E Inferno. And today we're going to be taking on the prediction markets challenge. So that's really exciting. So we have come a long way to get here. And in the beginning of the Sepolia Odyssey, it was meant for the technical people who are like developers and the non-technical people who are like users and entrepreneurs that are interested in Ethereum and learning how to use the blockchain. So for the most part, we've really just focused on the developer side. Obviously, because developers get to build applications that users and the non-technical people get to use. But really moving into the second half of the year, we might start shifting our attention a little bit to the non-technical side just to carry those people along as well. That doesn't mean that we're going to leave you guys, the developers, because, I'm one of you guys either way. So we will still be doing our developer things. It's just we'll be putting a lot more attention to some of the non-technical side of things. And obviously that's going to be good for the builders as well, because that way all of the things that you've been building from the first speedrun Ethereum challenge, which is the simple NFT, up until the current one, which we'll be doing today, which is the prediction markets. We'll be trying to get people to interact with it. We'll be trying to get the developers to engage with users, non-technical people in the community to like get feedback on, hey, how was using this thing? What could we do? That way, maybe they can start building off of these ideas and trying to come up with new solutions to different types of problems. So for today, we're going to get started. That was basically the introduction I just did. And the agenda, the next thing that we wanted to talk about was the announcements. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware of it, but recently we had a sort of a bounty for developers to build a voting delegation app. So that wasn't really open to the entire community. It was more or less a niche bounty for the blockchain DevFest Kampala conference that happened in July. July, was it June? I think it was in June. Man, time flies so fast. So that happened in June, towards the end of June. And so we had this bounty for the builders that attended that event to build out a voting delegation app for the Unlock Protocol DAO. And it's not really a request from the Unlock Protocol DAO or anything. It was something that we at P2E Inferno wanted because we're actually good friends of the Unlock Protocol. We use it in a lot of the things that we build. So we wanted to get the community to be aware of how they can get involved in governance, because it actually concerns us. If we're building on top of the Unlock Protocol, then the governance of the protocol concerns us. So we wanted our community members to get more involved in governance and voting. So we came up with that application so that people can now start getting more involved in voting. And so that app, about maybe 8 or 9 builders participated in that. We had a 50,000 digi token bounty on it, and someone won. We had a panel of judges. It was a live event, and everyone came on, and everything was done. And then we had some honorable mentions. So those guys didn't win, but they did a good job. And so there was a pool of 20,000 digi tokens that was split among the honorable mentions for a good job. And what happened after that was the some of the judges for that event were stewards of the Unlock Protocol. We had the lead steward from the Unlock Protocol as part of the judges, and the marketing steward and the financial steward too, as well as myself, who is the technology and innovation steward. So they came up with the idea that the winning project could potentially be integrated into the Unlock Protocol platform. And so that was something really exciting and unplanned, completely, just spontaneous. And so the builders, you guys, if you're watching this on the replay, you can definitely head into the Unlock Protocol Discord and join the conversation about that. But really, that's the type of thing that's possible once you start getting involved in some of these bounties and quests that we do in the community, because you never know where it leads. And right now, we don't even know where this is going to go for them. So that's one of the announcements. The Unlock Protocol community is actually talking about integrating that application into the Unlock Protocol website. And then the other announcement is actually using the app. So this application was meant for people to delegate their voting power, their voting rights. Either you can delegate it to yourself, you can delegate it to a steward, or you can delegate it to any random person. Hopefully, you delegate it to yourself and participate in voting. But if you're not going to be able to do that, you can delegate it to some of the stewards so that they can, at least your voting power is not, wasted. It's someone is able to speak for you. And if you don't like what the person is saying on your behalf by their voting, then you can delegate it to somebody else. So we are looking to start using that app. So we want to get the builders to deploy it to somewhere that anybody can get access to it so that they can go on to delegate their voting power. And we'll be putting up some bounties and quests for people to do that. Actually, we'll be putting out something for like the first 20 people that would use that. So you guys definitely want to keep your eye open and get involved in the community so that whenever that starts off, you'll be able to be at least one of the first 20 people and get your hands on that bounty. And another thing is the video suites. You know, uh, if you guys haven't been aware of it, we've been having some hidden quests in some of our YouTube shorts where we have some goodies hidden in the shorts in a link. And if you spot the link, you can follow the link and complete the task. And there's a reward for doing that. So that's something that we've been trying out. And if you guys like that, you definitely want to give us some feedback so that we can keep doing more of that. Or if the community doesn't really like that, then maybe we'll just wind that down and try something else. And finally, last but not least, is the Speedrun Ethereum bounties that will be rolling out soon enough. So if you have not been doing these challenges, now is your time to go back and start working on it and making sure that you've completed it and submitted it on the Speedrun Ethereum, website. You go to Build Guild and you complete your challenge and you submit it, because when the bounties get out, it's going to be a race, it's going to be according to the first come, first serve, just to put it in simple terms. And so if you haven't done it and that's the time you start doing it, if you're slow, maybe others might be able to complete it before you and they'll be able to get those bounties. So if you haven't done it, now's your cue. Being on this call is like getting the alpha before those that might even get to watch the replay to get your hands dirty, go back to the wherever you stopped. If you stopped at the first one or the third one or the fourth one, wherever you stopped, complete it and submit it so that you'll just be ready. And when it's out, all you need to do is just be like, you know what, I already did that. Here's the link. Where's my prize? So that's it. And let's hop into the challenge for today, which happens to be prediction markets. And before I do, in our regular fashion, we are not going to go over the entire thing. We're just going to like talk about the first two checkpoints, and then you guys can go on to finish the rest by yourselves. And again, there's a lot of hints on Scaffold on the Speedrun Ethereum website on how you can complete this. Plus, you can always if you get stuck, you can always drop a message in the developer channel and we'll be happy to help you. There's also Telegram channels on the Speedrun Ethereum challenge itself that of builders that are working on it. So if you get stuck, you can hop in those Telegram channels and ask for help if you don't want to get come to this P2E Inferno developer chat, and there'll be tons of people available to help you. So with that said, let's get started. So now I'm going to share my screen, and then we're going to go ahead and start off with the challenge. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. Can I get some thumbs up? Thumbs up if you can. All right, perfect. All right, that just won't go away. So as always, typically you want to head over to speedrunethereum.com. I'll copy it and drop it in the chat as always for anyone who's not tried it before. And this is taking forever just to load the chat. So now I'm gonna leave that. And you definitely want to scroll down to the one.
Okay.
Someone trying to say something. Can you hear me? Is my network bad? Anybody?
Yeah, sometimes we can't hear you.
Okay.
We are not hearing you.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was some kind of network interference. I don't know. These things always seem to happen whenever we're having a call, and then once the call is done, the network just goes back to being very fine. So we are going all the way down to challenge 6, prediction markets. But I just noticed this onboarding batches. So dive into end-to-end app development, receive mentorship from Build Guild members, and learn how to collaborate with fellow developers in open source projects. So there's a batch. This is a batch program that is organized by the Build Guild. And so if you guys are interested, which I highly recommend you do, you might want to try to get on this. So I'm not sure what the requirements are, but I suspect that you need to have done these challenges. So there's a lot of value in doing these challenges that we've gone through. So the fact that it's actually here after the Dex challenge, which we've done, means that maybe, and I'm not sure, so don't go quoting me on this, but it probably means that maybe you have to have done all of this once and then you can apply for this. So this is batch 19 and it starts in 5 days. So if you're a developer and you're interested in, getting into the Build Guild, getting mentored by uh, top Build Guild members and getting access to different types of opportunities there, then you definitely want to try this out. And so over to this, first you want to click on quests, which opens up the quest page, and then you want to connect your wallet, obviously. And as usual, first thing is reading through the instructions and everything carefully so that you understand what it that is required of you and what the challenge is about. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. Introduction. This challenge will guide you through building and understanding a simple prediction market where users can buy and sell ERC20 outcome shares based on the result of an event. You'll step into three roles: liquidity provider, oracle, and user. The event: a car race between a green and a red car. We'll guide you through the fundamental Solidity functions and explore how a fully on-chain prediction markets can be structured. And so there's a little toggle here where you can see how prediction markets evolved. So this is a little history lesson. Prediction markets themselves have been around for a long time, with records of election betting on Wall Street dating back to 1884. That's a long time ago, with a Wikipedia reference here for those of you who are researchers and want to find out. On Ethereum, they've been a topic of interest for quite some time, but it took them some time to really take off. Poly market. A prediction market is one of the most widely used blockchain applications today by both crypto natives and everyday users. It gained especially significant traction around the US elections. For example, during the 2024 US presidential election, Poly markets saw over $3.3 billion wagered on the race between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris as of November 5th, 2024, which was just last year, with a Wikipedia reference link as well. At its core, a prediction market is a betting market where users can wager on the outcome of a future event with a fixed end date. The key difference from traditional betting platforms is that in most cases, once you place a bet, you're locked in. And that's in traditional betting platforms. Once you place a bet, you're locked in. But in a prediction market, you can sell your position before the event concludes. Additionally, you're also getting all the on-chain benefits of being permissionless. I mean, that's just as good as it gets. You don't need any sort of permission to be able to like use the prediction market or the platform. So the more people bet on a particular outcome, the more expensive that side becomes, while the opposite side gets cheaper. This dynamic pricing mechanisms determines an implied probability, which can sometimes be more accurate than expert opinions, polls, or pundits. Since a monetary incentive exists to update a data point when there is profit potential and there is a disincentive to misinterpret in the form of financial loss. So, these things can sort of give you what this is trying to say is that this gives you an idea of the probability of something to happen. It's like an implied probability. Nobody is actually saying that this is what is going to happen, but it's kind of implied because if everyone is putting their money on it, it sort of implies that this thing is likely to happen because there's like financial loss if it doesn't happen. So people are disincentivized to misreports whatever the issue is or the event is because of the financial loss that is associated with it. So, how our prediction market works, which is what we'll be working on in this challenge, we build a binary prediction market, meaning users bet on a yes or no question. Like in this case, will the green car win the race? When you buy a share, you're choosing between two outcome tokens, yes and no. Each share can be traded anytime before the market closes. If you hold the winning token, it pays out 0.01 ETH. If you hold the losing token, it's worth zero. Before the result is known, token prices fluctuate between 0 and 0.01, reflecting the probability of each outcome. And lastly, the sum of both token prices always equals 0.01 ETH, just like on Poly Market, where one share pays out 1 USDC. Why ours is different? Unlike traditional betting markets, we don't lock you in after buying. You can buy or sell outcome shares anytime as long as the market hasn't been resolved. Instead of an order book like Poly Market, we use an automated market maker. That means you can trade instantly, no need to find someone on the other side. It's easier to implement and more gas efficient on chain. So there's two reasons why ours is different. First off is it uses an market maker, which is something like the DEX, the decentralized exchange. That's an automated market maker. Although the one in the Speedrun Ethereum challenge is a simple version, but the idea is still the same. So if you want to know a bit more about that, you might want to check that out and maybe read a bit more on that. And then the second thing is it doesn't use the order book that the Poly Market uses. So Poly Market uses an order book which is kind of like um you record, it's like a book where you record the the people saying this thing is going to happen, and then there's the people that are saying it won't happen, and then it just sort of matches them accordingly. And so the automated market maker is not like that. It's more or less like someone provides liquidity, and then anybody can come and buy or sell when anytime they like, and it automatically adjusts the prices accordingly. So where does liquidity come from? which is talk a little bit about what I just said. To launch a market, someone must provide initial liquidity, locking in collateral to back the outcome tokens. Liquidity providers earn fees from trading activity, but they also take on risk since losing tokens become worthless. That's why popular platforms curate markets to ensure there's enough interest and volume. You can check out Polymarket Docs, which has a link attached here. But who decides the outcome? And that's a great question. Blockchains can't know if a race was won or lost. So we use oracles. An oracle is a decentralized way to fetch real world data like which car won and report it on chain in a way that everyone can trust. Without oracles, there's no way to settle prediction markets securely. Let's jump into the challenge. So you can, I mentioned earlier about builders working on this challenge, and here you can meet the builders working on this challenge and get help in the Prediction Markets Challenge Telegram group. So the link is here on Speedrun Ethereum. So checkpoint zero, which is setting up your environment. And if you've been doing all the other challenges, you would definitely be ready for this. So before you begin, you need to install the following tools. You need to have Node.js version 20.18.3 and above. You need to have Yarn V1 or V2 plus, and you need to have Git. And so first thing you want to do is copy the project link, which is here. You're going to copy all that and paste in your terminal. And I won't be doing that because I've already done to save some time. And before I move forward, does anybody have any questions so far? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, no question. Thumbs up kind of means question. Thumbs down, no question. Okay, thumbs up question. Tressa, you have a question. You can unmute yourself and ask.
No, I was going to say I was satisfied, but
Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah, next you have to this. So in your code editor I have open here, you want to head into the terminal and paste that. So I have cursor open here, and hopefully you guys use one of that. Do you use can you hear me now? My network got disconnected for a bit, so connection. Can you guys hear me now? My network got disconnected for a bit, so I lost connection. I was asking if you use Cursor. Do you use Cursor? Anyone here use Cursor? Thumbs up, thumbs down. How about you, Tressa? Do you use Cursor? You don't. What IDE do you use? VS Code. Okay. Okay. Well, I would highly recommend you start exploring these AI code editors. They're really quite helpful. Or what do you use on VS Code? Do you use Copilot? Okay, that's good. It's also quite good. So cool, cool, cool. All right, so back to this, and let's start off the commands. I already ran those commands, so I don't need to run them anymore. But Yarn chain starts off the local development chain, and Yarn deploys the contract to your local development environment, and Yarn starts will start up the front end. And so over on this tab, which is what you can find here, I'll move this over here. If you go to this URL, you'd find the front end. So this is it. And then let's get back over here and continue on with the instructions. So we run yarn deploy whenever you want to deploy new contracts to the front end. If you haven't made any contract changes, you can run yarn deploy dash reset for a completely fresh deploy. So next is head to the debug contracts tab, and you should find a smart contract named prediction market. This is our main contract and the one we'll be working on throughout the challenge. Since we haven't implemented any functions yet, they all shouldn't work, nor will you see all the necessary state variables. But let's check it out. Debug contracts. So that's going to take a couple seconds to compile that page since it's on the development server, and then it's going to load it up. All right. So Here we have the main contract, the prediction market, and the state variables are all default values. And so you don't see anything. And these functions aren't going to work because they've not been implemented. But well, we've got some things here. We've got the buy, get buy, price in ETH and things like that. So what else do we have going on? This is our main contract, all right? So we've been through that. So here we are, checkpoint one, understanding the protocol. So at its core, our prediction market has three essential parts. The first part is tokens, ERC20 tokens to represent outcomes. So what that means is uh, for something to happen is a token. That means does the green car win? Yes, is a token. You can call that yes token. Does the red car win? Yes. For if you're thinking about it in the context of the green car, does the green car win? Yes and no would be the red car one, right? Because it's only two outcomes. It's a yes or no. And so if the tokens represent outcomes, that means whatever happens is the token is represented by tokens. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, if you are confused about something, you can always unmute yourself and ask because I wouldn't be able to see if you raised your hand. And so just wanted to get that out. And so the second part that is essential to our protocol is the trading mechanism, which is the automated market maker, which is AMM, or the order book, which lets the users buy and sell shares, and then an oracle to settle the final outcome. In our version, when you deploy the market, it spins up two ERC20 tokens, one for yes and one for no. You'll find the token logic in this folder, which is in the packages, hard hat contract. So let's hop in the code and just check that real quick. If we head here, you see there's packages, hard hats.
Excuse me.
All right, go on.
Does the oracle always write about the answer?
So no, the oracle, the oracle is something that you get to define. Okay, so if what you're asking is for this specific challenge or for the idea in general, which one do you mean? Is it specifically to this or the idea of the oracle?
I'm referring to
Okay, the
the idea.
idea. Okay, so the idea of the oracle is more or less like a mechanism that is going to provide the answer in a secure way that everybody can trust. So it depending on whatever the type of event is and the system or the protocol, you would have to implement the oracle system in a so maybe you can integrate if for instance if it's something like a sports event where the outcome is going to happen after the match or the basketball game or whatever has ended, you can integrate some kind of API that gets the scores, and then there's some way to verify that. So when the event ends, the API will get the score, and then it might put it on there, and then people can confirm that that was actually the score. So that can be one way you can do an oracle. You can also implement something like maybe a group of people, depending on the type of. So the way you do the oracle would depend on the nature of the protocol and the thing that you're trying to create the prediction market for. And as we go on further into this, you would start to get a clearer picture of what that could look like. But does that make sense to you, what I just explained?
Yeah, it makes sense. I was thinking like there is no way you could determine the result. You could determine the you could be sure of the expected result unless the event has passed. That's
Yes,
why I was concerned.
that's how it works. So the when you're doing this prediction market thing is kind of how it normally works. Let's say in a normal betting scenario, you don't know you can never be sure of the outcome until the event has passed. So the oracle is always going to give the result after the event has passed. The oracle can, and so that's how the betting market gets resolved. That's why they say um something about the outcome not being able to, you can sell any of your shares on until the outcome is resolved. Where was that written about what makes this different? So yeah, this is where that line is. You can buy or sell outcome shares anytime as long as the market has not been resolved. So you see this line about being resolved. That's when the thing has ended and then the oracle has given the result and the market has become closed. That's when this thing has now been resolved. So this idea is saying that before that resolution happens, you can buy or sell shares anytime. Hopefully that makes sense. Tressa, you there?
It
Okay,
makes
okay.
sense. I
All right.
give thumbs up.
Oh yeah, but I can't see that because I'm not really looking at that screen because I'm not
Okay.
using like multiple screens. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so the next thing is the oracle to settle the final outcome. So that's the third essential part of the protocol that makes the whole thing work. So in our version, when you deploy the market, it spins up two ERC20 tokens, one for yes and one for no. You find the logic in this place. That's the logic for the token. And that was what we're about to go check, which was this contracts and prediction market token. So this is the logic. And let me hide this a bit and then try to increase this a little bit more so it's visible and maybe
Increase the right. Your face code.
is this okay?
Yeah, I was saying to increase the light.
The increase the light
Yeah,
like it's
the
dark.
luminosity. Yeah, it's very dark.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, I can see.
Let me try to hide this thing too. So this is what the contract looks like, and there's a custom burn and a prevention to transfer and things like that. They did some custom things in that contract, which they'll talk about. So uh, protocol revolves around three rules. So three user groups are going to be, involved in this protocol. The first one is market owner and liquidity provider. These people set up the market and seeds it with ether. The oracle reports the final outcome, yes or no, and the user who trades shares and tries to win the ether. And guess what? You are the one that's going to take on all three roles during the challenge. So you are going to be the market maker, providing you're going to be the oracle. You're going to wear the hats of these people. You wear the hat of the market maker, you wear the hat of the oracle, and you wear the hat of the user. So you get a full understanding of these different roles and how they come together to make the whole system work. That will give you a very solid understanding of prediction markets, just in case you want to build your own for maybe something different or whatever. And so, but we'll start with the most important one, the market owner and liquidity provider. So, why liquidity comes first? In an AMM based system like ours, markets can't function without initial liquidity. That means someone must deposit ether upfront. Otherwise, system can't work. So here's what happens when a new market is deployed. Ether is deposited as collateral. The contract creates the yes and no ERC20 tokens. It mints tokens and adds them to the liquidity pool. Later on, more liquidity can be added or removed. So you implement this logic in checkpoint 2, 3, 4, and 6 under the liquidity provider tab. So here's what the liquidity provider looks like, the liquidity provider tab, but we don't have to look at this image because we can hop over here and click on this and you can see. So I'll just take a moment for you guys to look at this and take it all in. It might look a bit overwhelming at first when you look at the screen and you're seeing all these things and numbers and stuff. But let's start here. Top left corner, there's a token value, and obviously it's at zero because nothing has happened. And this is the value of the winning token. So here on the left side is liquidity provider, the address of the liquidity provider. Obviously nothing, so it's zero address. The prediction market collateral, the amount of it that goes into the winning token, that's what will be displayed here. And then the liquidity provider revenue, which is what has been gotten from buying and selling, the fees that have been generated from buying and selling the tokens. And so here are the token for each outcomes. So there's the green border around the token for the green car, and then the red border line around the token for the red car. So there's just some more information around this, but I won't spend time going into it so that we can get up to checkpoint 2 before we run out of time. So this is what this page is basically talking about. And this is different here because I actually clicked on the race and it did the race. So I'll do it again, but let's just continue for now. So in the current state, your front end is already implemented, but the buttons of the different functions will likely break since there's no implementation code within your smart contracts yet. But soon there will be the oracle. Once the market is set up, someone needs to decide how it ends. In checkpoint 5, you'll become the oracle, the one who reports the final outcome of the event on chain in the oracle tab. Oracles are how off-chain facts like did the green car win make their way into the blockchain world. Have a look at the oracle tab. So click on this. I'm going to hop over here, click on the Oracle tab like this. And so this is the Oracle tab. You see, once the Oracle, only the Oracle can report the outcome. So since the Oracle address, there's none yet. That's why you can't obviously report the outcome. And so nothing to be done there, but hopefully that is simple enough. And then it's time to trade. After the market is created and the oracle is ready, it's the user's turn to jump in the user tab. In checkpoint 7 to 9, you build out the core user actions, buy some tokens. So these are the user actions. The user can buy outcome tokens, sell them to exit positions, redeem them once the results is in. You'll have full trading functionality from end to end, all powered by your smart contracts. So have a look at the user tab. So let's do this. And so this is green token and this is the red one. Let me click on the race again now and see what happens. So this is the race happening and let's just watch who's going to win. Well, it looks like the red is about to win this race. And the red car is fast. That's a Bugatti. Wow. The green didn't even get to cross the finish line. But yeah, so yeah, the red car won. Obviously, did the green car win? No. So that's the user tab right there. We could have clicked it in the other tabs, but we just did it here. So you've made it this far in Scaffold Eat challenges. As things get more complex, it might be good to review the design requirements of the challenge first. Check out the empty prediction market.so file to see aspects of each function. If you can explain how each function will work with one another, that's great. The guiding questions will lead you in the right directions, but try thinking about how you would structure each function before looking at these. Code blobs within the toggles in the guiding questions are some examples of what you can use, but try writing the implementation code for the functions first. So these are just like tips to help you get through. They're like, okay, yeah, you've gotten this far. It's probably going to get harder, but first you should just try and take some time to look at the contract, just go through it with your eyes, and then you try to figure out how the functions will work together. Ask yourself some questions. Obviously, if you have a partner that you can, look at this with, it will be better because you guys can ask yourselves questions. You don't have to ask yourself. But if you don't, you can ask yourself the questions, and then these guiding questions will lead you in the right direction and how to think about, but try thinking about how you would structure each function before looking at the guiding questions. So there are guiding questions already embedded in this challenge that will help you find your way to the answers. And so they're just saying try to think about it first so that you will exercise your muscle, your brain muscle. But sometimes these things are hard, and so you might not be able to figure it out on your own, but trying really does help. So don't be afraid to try, and if you try and you don't get it, don't feel bad. Just obviously know that these things are not easy, and it gets better the more you try. So it gets easier as well as the more you try it. So these are just the first set of advice to get you warmed up and ready to get involved in the whole thing. And so the next thing is checkpoint 2, which is where we're actually stopping. And obviously you guys would need to go on to do the completion of everything else, but let's move on to what's involved in checkpoint 2. So we have the prediction market set up. Before we can deploy our prediction market smart contract, we need to set up the constructor and declare some critical variables. This is the foundation of the whole prediction. This is the foundation the whole prediction market will run on. Think of this step as bootstrapping your protocol's brain. Let's do it. So the constructor. And if you notice, when we looked at this, you find that some things are not set, like the Oracle address, liquidity provider things. And that's obviously something that the constructor has a lot to do with. So when you deploy the contract, you provide liquidity provider, the owner address, which will be passed directly to Ownable, Oracle, the address that will later report the outcome, the question, the actual prediction being asked, will the green car win, or whatever you want to ask, will the red car win? The ETH value a winning token pays out, e.g. 0.01 ETH, and initial yes probability, how likely yes is at the start, e.g. 50-50 or something. So yeah, hopefully this makes sense. Does this make sense? Let me see if there's a top so far. Does that make sense? Perfect. So yeah, you need to provide the initial probability. I've actually run the race twice and the red car won both race. So I don't think this initial probability will be 50-50. It might be more in favor of the red. And then percentage to lock used in probability plus pricing logic. You dive deeper into this in checkpoint 3. So obviously this might be something that may not completely make a lot of sense just by looking at it, but by the time you dive into it in checkpoint 3, it will definitely become more clearer. I remember when I was first learning to code, there were certain things that just never made sense until it was written in code. I watched a lot of videos that would explain to the moon, and it would not make sense to me until once we jumped into the code, and then you had the code run and it does the thing, and you'd be like, oh, so that's what they were saying. So hopefully this makes sense when you get into checkpoint 3 if it doesn't already. So further state variables, your contract will also need to track the following state data throughout the life of the market. So there's the ETH collateral, the total ether backing the tokens. Think of this as your price pool. And then the LP trading revenue, which technically stands for liquidity provider trading revenue. tracks the fees earned from the users buying, selling tokens. That's the liquidity provider's reward. For easier testing, we set the Oracle address to be the same as the liquidity provider during the deployment. So if you check out the deployment script, they're setting the person that deploys the contract as the person that's going to provide the liquidity. Also, double check the parameter values we're passing into the constructor, like the question, etc., and all the rest of them. Add the first hard hat account to your wallet, or add your own account to interact with the Oracle, to interact as the Oracle or contract owner. You can manually set your address in the deployment script. So let's quickly check the deployment script, and I'm gonna bring back the sidebar. So here in this deploy folder, there's a deploy script. All right, so these are the initial values. So the question is, will the green car win? Initial liquidity is 1 ether. Initial token value is 0.01. Initial probability is 50. Percentage locked 10. Liquidity provider, deployer, Oracle deployer. And then down here, when the contract is being deployed, await deploy prediction market. They pass in all of these values here as the constructor arguments. And if we to check the smart contracts, if we should check the smart contract here, which we already, obviously the previous checkpoints asked to do, you would see in the constructor, these are the arguments. So we have the liquidity provider, Oracle, question, initial, and all of that stuff already there. So that, I think that's all that we can cover, and that's pretty much it. For the next is checkpoint 3, which would go on to ask you to do more things. So do we have some questions, comments, anything? All right, well, thank you all for joining, and it's been another great session. So hopefully you guys are able to complete this on your own. And if you run into trouble, you can always reach out and hit us up in the P2E Inferno community dev channel. And I'll see you on the next one. Have a good night.